Thank you very much. Assembly Member Dismore.
I think people are also interested to know that when they dial 999, the police are going to turn up. You have what's called the I call, which means the most emergency calls. The police have to turn up within 15 minutes, 90% of the time is your target. For the S call, within an hour, 90% of the time. In Barnet, for the last 3 months, they have consistently failed to meet the targets for both I and S calls. Second worst performance in the whole of London. What are you going to do about it?
I'm afraid I don't have the targets here for what we're achieving in Barnet, because
I've got them here. I've just told you.
The questions were what we're achieving in Barnet. I can't confirm those figures for you, but I have the figures for what we're doing in Greenwich and.
Well, I'm not interested in Greenwich. I asked you about Barnet.
But I will look at what you're saying, and if there's something we can do to address it, Andrew, then I shall. But I repeat that the most important indicator for me is not only that crime is coming down, but everybody who is the victim of a crime under what we are doing, under the plans that we've rolled out, gets a visit from a police officer.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they want the visit to come promptly within the scheduled time. Now, the point about it, Mr. Mayor, is this. It goes beyond this, because, in fact, because of this target-driven culture you've got here, the position is actually worse. Because I understand from police sources that if they miss the attendance times of 1 hour for an S call, you don't get the police officer within an hour and 10 minutes or around 50 minutes. It goes to the back of the queue, and you could wait hours. And I've also heard from police sources that if they are outside the attendance time, they will start to book in before they've actually arrived, by 3 or 4 minutes before they arrive, so it makes it look as though they've actually met the target when they arrive 5 minutes or so later. They are, if that is true, that is a despicable and unsavoury practice where they're fiddling the figures. Now, the fact is, will you look into this fiddling of the figures?
Who are you calling despicable?
I'm calling it a practice despicable, where officers are booking in before they've actually arrived to make it look like they're meeting the target when they are not.
I don't think you should say that the police officers who are coming to the assistance of people in Barnet are despicable. I don't know.
No, I didn't say that.
I don't know what possessed you to.
I think, to be fair, he was saying the practice was despicable.
I am saying the practice of booking in before they've arrived is wrong. And will you look into this and make sure it's dealt with? Because I suspect it's not just Barnet. I suspect your target-driven culture has created this problem throughout London.
I don't know quite what despicable behaviour of the police you're referring to. I don't think the police behave despicably. My impression is that the police behave very honourably and very courageously and do their best to look after people in this city. And I think they will be amazed that the member for Barnet.
So you won't look into it.
I think they will be amazed.
You're quite happy for this to continue.
The member for Barnet has said that they're doing something that is despicable.
You're quite happy for this to continue, then. You're not prepared to look into it. Because it suits your targets. It makes it look better than it really is, doesn't it? That's why you're prepared to let it continue.
We are succeeding in reducing crime in your borough.
You're prepared to let it continue because it suits you.
All you can say to give thanks to the police who are helping to make your constituents safer is that they are doing something despicable. I think you should withdraw your assertion.
I think you should look into the misuse of your targets because it suits you. It suits you not to look into this abuse, doesn't it?
Well, I really think that if Barnet has a problem, it is only that it is very, very badly represented by its Labour Assembly member, that is my view. I will certainly, if there is something we can do to get faster response times for the I calls and the S calls, then yes, of course we should do that. But the truth is that our police and your police, Andrew Dismore, are doing an exceptional job of helping to bring down crime, and they deserve your support.
Thank you. We note that commitment from the Mayor to look into that. Assembly Member McCartney.
Bring back Brian, yeah, that's what I said.
Yes.
Thank you. Assembly Member Dismore.
I think one of the problems with the Higgins report is that there's still no recognition of the inadequate compensation arrangements for Camden residents, where they're going to be rehoused, the impact on the Drummond Street businesses that are going to be ruined, the lack of the mitigation measures for those who live near the works. That's not been covered in the Higgins report at all.
No, it hasn't.
Nor has, in fact, the importance of building simultaneously Crossrail 2, so that when people get off
no, that has been. Okay, let me.
HS2, they don't suddenly find that they end up at Euston Station underground, finding it closed because of overcrowding. But I'm a bit concerned what you've just had to say about the HS2-1 link, because the Higgins report finally recognised that it was a silly idea to devastate Camden Town for 10 years to build this on the existing railway tracks.
No, we won't do that.
I'm very concerned that you still seem to think that we want HS2, HS1 link. Isn't it about time?
No.
Isn't it about time
under no
circumstances again?
No. There's just so you understand what I'm saying, Andrew. There's no our objection, TfL's objection to the HS1, HS2 link as it was initially proposed was it did indeed clog up the existing tracks in a way that would be completely detrimental to freight carriage and to passenger carriage in London. So we thought that the scheme was hopeless. What you could ultimately do is do it in tunnel. You should do it in tunnel. You should go all the way out to Stratford. You should basically build a Crossrail 3, and that's what I think where we will end up. On your point about compensation in Camden and all that kind of thing, I think there are patently there are strong voices being raised against what is happening in Camden. They're not yours so far as I can make out. And clearly something needs to be, that needs to be reflected. On the one proposal is to have something called double deck down, which you'll be familiar with, and that is basically to save a lot of the disruption in Camden by doing as they do at Grand Central Station in New York, where you have two tiers, and so you'd be able to contract the overall footprint of the site and have less disruption. I know that HS2 is going to be looking into that. What I cannot tell you now is that they are going to be able to promise it, because intuitively, I think most of us would agree that it would almost certainly add to the cost and probably also to the delay, and it might also make it more difficult. It might make it more difficult to deliver the regeneration that we want to see in Euston.
Do you support double deck down?
I'll support anything that is cost effective and that reduces disruption.
Thank you. Then, can we, under standing orders, agree to extend the meeting to complete the remaining business?
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Can we then move on to the next question on the order paper in the name of Assembly Member Dismore, asking, are you satisfied with the coverage of high-speed broadband in London?
Well, Andrew, yes. I mean, what I've said is I want London to have the fastest broadband of any European city, fastest Wi-Fi connections, and this year we're rolling out the SME broadband voucher scheme, which will allow businesses, charities, other non-profit organisations to claim up to £3,000 for putting in high-speed broadband. We also wanted to use the fund to address unserved residential addresses, because there are problems in some areas in London. Unfortunately, the European Union state aid guidelines on broadband investment in cities means we need to change the scope of this rather infuriatingly. But we are bashing on, and one of the things I've done in the long-term infrastructure plan is asked for how act as a series of steps we can take to make sure that London basically has the best broadband coverage in the world, and that everybody can be completely confident of getting a signal. Wi-Fi, as you know, is being extended everywhere in transport networks. Currently available in 130 underground stations. Plans for 150 stations to have Wi-Fi by the end of 2014. So that's 150 stations on the tube to be Wi-Fi by the end of this year, and 56 overground stations.
Well, you're trying to put a brave face on it, but the fact is you presided over a high-tech train wreck, haven't you? I mean, if you actually look at the figures, London is 6th from the bottom of European capitals.
This is the city. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Only 85% coverage at the end of the rollout in a few weeks' time. Over half of those who are connected get speeds below 2/3 the government target. If you look at my constituency, the HA postcodes in Barnet, 5,000 will have no access to broadband, 90,000 are below speed. In the EC district in Camden, Central London, business district, 7,000 no access, 11,600 below speed. That is hardly a success. The fact is, it's a shambles, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah, you're talking about the city that has more tech startups, more high-tech business
than any other
in Europe,
and they're complaining about it.
Is lengthening its lead over the rest of the EU. It's a city where, obviously, I'm not saying I'm totally satisfied with broadband provision in London, and clearly we need to do more. It's something I've raised both with BT and with Virgin, and we need to have better coverage. But I think you're slightly running London down if you say that we've got a high-tech car crash. On the contrary, you are seeing an extraordinary success in this city as the tech capital of the world.
I have to say that is the most complacent approach to one of the most serious obstacles to growth in London I've ever heard. Well, in fact, it's not just your opinion. BT is in large part to blame. They have a complete lack of communication with people who want to find out what's going on. I've got a resident in Miller who's been trying to find for months what's happening in relation to connections. You can't get anything done about it. It was their legal challenge against Birmingham which actually stopped local authorities providing some support, the dog in the manger attitude. It's the BT who actually decide what is or is not economic to provide. It's not monitored. They decide whether there's enough demand or not. That's not monitored. It's no surprise then that their Openreach company, which is responsible for broadband rollout, made £5 billion in revenue last year, is it? The fact is they are making a huge profit by not providing the service that Londoners deserve. Well, it's about time you got tough with them, isn't it? About time you called them and gave them a sing to and made them spend some of that £5 billion on plugging the gaps that they've created.
Well, as I say, we have been very tough in our representations both to BT and to Virgin Media about what they're doing to provide better coverage, and we will continue to do so. But, and just to repeat, we are rolling out a voucher scheme that will allow all businesses, charities and others to avail themselves of broadband.
This broad brush waffle is not going to do anything about getting broadband into London. It's about time you've got your finger out,
broad brush waffle about 3,000
got something done about it, and you haven't. This is a serious obstacle to growth in London, and you are so complacent you don't even recognise it.
No, on the contrary, we have this year, we're putting out our voucher programme for £3,000 for all businesses, SMEs, charities and non-profit organisations.
And it won't pay for a single bit of extra infrastructure.
I'm not going to pretend to you that everything
doesn't pay for any infrastructure improvements at all, does it?
I can't hear a word you're saying. You speak so
fast. It doesn't pay for any infrastructure improvements.
Since in my experience, you never say
take your hair out of your ears and listen.
Let's stop getting stroppy with one another.
I'm not getting stroppy. He always gets stroppy. He gets incredibly irate.
Assembly Member Dismore, do you want to repeat your question?
Right. I simply... It doesn't matter.
I can't... Anyway.
Right.
He always gets in a terrible strop. I don't know why. Let me tell you...
Because you're not doing your job, that's why.
Well, actually, we are leading this city into a most extraordinary flowering of tech across the board. And Steve O'Connell mentioned earlier on what's happening in Croydon. You've seen 28,000 tech startups just since I've been mayor, more than any other city in Europe, if not the world. And yeah, I'm not going to pretend to you that our broadband is perfect, but we are putting in, as I say, a voucher scheme that will allow all businesses £3,000 to get them the broadband they need.
Thank you. We'll then move on to the next question on the